Hey guys, it's Irene's Braids and I am back with another video. So let's just jump right into it. All right, you guys, so here I'm holding some virgin curly hair. This is called the JoJo curl. And what I'm getting ready to do is I am going to take off this yellow wrapper you see wrapped around the hair. I want to go ahead and start detangling this hair just to comb out some of the roots to see if there are any strays that we don't want in our client's hair because we don't want them to have too much shedding. So I'm using a comb and I'm keeping a good grip on the bundle of hair. And what I did, you guys, is I took it section by section. This was a lot of hair. I only used one bundle for this complete service. Today, my client will be getting some boho knotless braids. So in order to achieve those braids, we have to have some good curly hair. And so what I'm doing now is I'm teasing out the bundle so that way the hair is able to be braided into the braid and hide and tuck away nicely. And so in order to achieve that, you would need to go ahead and start stretching out the bundle and making sure that it does not have a blunt look and it has more of a tapered look. So now that I've finished tapering out my bundle of virgin hair, I'm going to show you exactly how I am pulling my pieces. So I will want my piece to be entirely this small per piece that I'm adding in. And then I'm going to section it out into two pieces so that way they're not too thick. As you gradually braid, you can thicken up more if you like, but I want to try to go with less curls as possible so that way it's not, too many curls and it doesn't give it a big look. I like to take a little bit of the braid gel and add it at the tip of the virgin hair, and I'm doing that to each piece that I've laid onto the towel. That way it's easier for me to pull, grab, and then tuck nicely into my client's braid. So I'm going to use this towel as just a setup for the curly hair. And I feel like it's just going to help the hair from not being a mess, rolling all over the place. So, do what works for you. This is just what works for me. And it just makes the process a little bit easier. So if you're able to go ahead and do prepping, I suggest that you prep out the knotless braiding hair like I did here in this clip. And that way you're able to pull every piece that you need to create your knotless braids. And it'd definitely give it a faster time frame. It took us about 6 hours to do this look, even with me prepping everything out. Exactly 6 hours, you guys. So that's something to definitely consider. All right, guys, so here are the products that I'm using. I prefer the Cream and Shine when I'm blow drying my client's hair. It just helps give it a nice moisturizing feel, but then also it's good for blow drying and hot curling. Here are my IRENE'S Braids Precision Parting Combs. Of course, I got my favorite Yellow Bird and Braid Products hair clips as well. So here's my client's hair before blow drying. And now that her hair is fully blown out, what I'm going to do is go ahead and set up exactly how I would like for her foundation to look. So because we're doing the boho tribal braids, we're going to have to section off the hair in half. So in this clip here, I was just showing her the direction of how I wanted her braids to go, just to make sure that we're both on the same page. So she would like her braids to be, her scalp braids to be more at an angled look. And she does not want any middle braid or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and split the hair in half so that way we have individuals for the back. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure that we have some scalp braids towards the top. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of the Shine In Jam for the parting, like so. And then I will make sure that I re-part over the areas where I applied the braiding gel just to clean up the parting. So when your parting is not as perfect, you want to definitely apply a little bit of braiding gel, and then you want to take your comb and then go over those areas to make sure that your parts are as precise as they could be. And you can keep applying more gel if you need to, but the less gel that you apply makes it more easier for you to get perfect parts. Sometimes it can get pretty messy if you apply too much gel. So what I did now is I went ahead and parted her hair down the middle, halfway, and then I'm going to braid each side down into French braids just to keep it out of my way while I start my first set of knotless braids towards the back. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned that we were doing boho knotless braids, but I made a mistake. We are doing Boho tribal braids. So the back of her hair will start off with individual knotless braids, but it will definitely have the boho look. So this is tribal boho braids. So I took a little bit of the Eben style gel to section off her hair with. I'm going to use my precision parting comb to clean up my parting and make sure that it is as perfect as it could possibly be. And then once I go ahead and clean up those parts, I'm going to then section off the hair into how many pieces that I would like for her nape. So I typically do between 4 to 5 pieces, depending on how big or wide my client's head is. Her head is more on the average side, so we're only going to have to do about 4 knotless at her nape. But I want to make sure that the parts are as clean as possible. Try to make sure that you are paying attention to your client's hair. If their hair is more thinner at the back of their nape, then you definitely want to make sure that you're using more of their natural hair to start your braid. So as always, I like to slow down this part so that way you can kind of grasp what I'm doing here. I like to section off my client's natural hair into 3 sections. And then I'll take a small piece of braiding hair and I will loop it through between my index and thumb finger, and then use my left finger to push that index finger through and keep swapping index fingers until the braid is complete as far as starting off my knotless. And then I will take another piece of braiding hair within the same size that I used the first time and add that through. So I typically like to do between 3 to 4 pieces before I complete the braid. So now I'm going to just go ahead and underhand my braid while I continue to add in more pieces. And then this right here will help me complete the first set of knotless boho braids. But before I get to finishing off this braid, I want to then take a piece of the version bundled hair that we pulled apart, and I'm going to braid that in. And how I braid that in is I'm going to take a small piece of that version hair, and I want it to be small because if it's too big, you can have too much hair, and I don't want it to be a lion head full of curls. So I take it up under the braid, and then I make sure that I braid it in pretty tightly so that way it is secure and it's not slipping out. For new beginner braiders, you want to go ahead and tug on the hair lightly to make sure that your version hair is not coming out. And if it's not, then you put it in securely. If it is, then you need to go back and unloosen the braid and tighten it up a little bit better. So I'm going to continue to braid down. I typically like to add between 3 to 4 pieces. We wanted to go more for a lighter look and not as full, so we are only using 1 bundle of that version hair. So to make sure that we don't run out, I went in with lighter pieces towards the nape. And I want to say about 3 to 4 rows up, we went with lighter pieces, and then we started to fill in more curls once we got closer to the top. So I like to end all of my boho knotless with a piece of the version hair curl. I am not a fan of perm rodding the ends. I see a lot of other stylists perm rod the ends. I feel like that's more of lazy work. I feel like your ends should match with what you've done towards the top. So if you're going to start off with any piece of curly hair, you need to make sure you're finishing off with curly hair. That is how you complete a set of knotless braids. By perm rodding the ends does not give it the same look. So that's just my opinion, but you can choose to do whatever you like. All right, you guys, so this is how the version hair looks inside of the knotless braid. I'm loving how they look. So we're going more between small, medium knotless braids. That is the look that we're going for. And then, of course, at the top, we're going to go ahead and scalp braid the top of the braids. So yeah, you guys, I'm going to play a little bit of music here, and you guys can continue to watch me complete the rest of this look as far as in the boho knotless, and then I'll come back and then walk you through how we start the scalp braids. You guys, please make sure that you're liking this video, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. By leaving a comment, I would greatly appreciate it. Just throw a thumbs up. You know, it ain't gonna hurt you to put a like on this video, and if you thought it was informative to you, drop a comment. Let me know. All right, you guys, I'll be back to discuss how we'll do the scalp braids. guys, so here is how the knotless braids turn out, and they are absolutely beautiful. So you guys, I'm going to go ahead and start out on the scalp braids just to show you how I do it. I'm going to take a little clip and clip out the rest of her hair away so that way it's not in my way as I am braiding. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the braid gel and I'm going to apply that to her scalp just to kind of clean up the part. All right, so now that we have cleaned up the parting some, I want to make sure that I am pulling pieces that are going to be as small as I would like for them to be. You want to go in with smaller pieces as you're feeding in the cornrows. And the reason why is because you don't want the braid to start off with a knotty look. So what I'm doing here is taking some of that knotless braid we use for the back, the hair, and I'm using that same hair and I'm splitting it up into smaller sections. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that I have a couple pieces that I could pull from as I begin my braid, because once you start your braid you don't want to have to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and take a small piece of that braiding hair and I'm going to use that braiding hair to begin the braid off with. But before I start off with that braid, I'm going to go ahead and section off her natural hair into 3 pieces. And then once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add in my first piece of Expressions braiding hair in between my index and thumb finger. Make sure you're keeping a pretty good grip when you're doing that, you guys, because you definitely want to make sure that it's secure towards the root. So I braid it in about 3 to 4 times. Sometimes I can go between 5 depending on how it feels in my hand as I'm braiding it. And then I'll add in a second piece. So I typically try to do that, braid it in at least 2 to 3 times, then add a piece. But you'll figure out what works for you based off how it feels to you if you're needing to add more hair. So now I've put in at least 3 pieces of Expressions braiding hair, and I'm going to go back in with another piece because to me I feel as though I need more hair. If you're going for more of a natural look, you're not going to add as many pieces as me, but we're going for more of a small medium scalp braid, so I'm adding in a little bit more pieces because I want the braid to fill in nicely and then be able to cover over the knotless braid as natural and nicely as possible. So as I'm braiding in these pieces, I am going to come to a stopping point where I need to stop and add in a piece of the virgin hair so that way it matches thoroughly and matches in nicely and blends nicely with what I've done towards the top. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, well not pause, but add some music so you can continue to watch me braid. So that is how you start off your first virgin hair curl into your braid, and then of course your first scalp braid. And don't forget, you guys, drop some comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you're struggling with as you scalp braid. And don't forget to like and subscribe this video if you felt like it was informative to you. A like will definitely be amazing, you guys. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take my precision parting comb because we've already done about 3 braids. And I'm going to go ahead and part out another row. And I'm going to use the same method that I used before where we're starting off with her natural hairline first. And then I'm going to take a piece of braiding hair, at least 3 to 4 pieces to start off with. You want to braid it in about 3 to 4 times and then add another piece, or do what feels best to you based off how it feels as you're braiding and see if that works best for you. So this is how the braids turn out, which they turn out absolutely beautifully. And of course, I have a second client waiting on me, so I was not able to continue to record a lot. But I hope that you guys at least got the concept of how to do the boho tribal braids with human hair or virgin hair curls added. They turned out so pretty, you guys. So if you like it, make sure you at least drop a comment, like, and subscribe. And don't forget that you can follow me on all social media platforms at Irene's Braids. Bye, guys.